Actually, those songs should have been switched, but whatevs. Welcome to the finale of Final Kombat. Last time, Armageddon has begun, and Taven just defeated his brother Dagon as he triggered the Pyramid of Argus to rise, and Blaze warned him that the quest has been corrupted and it wasn't what he desired. And Taven actually disobeyed Blaze and took out his brother. If it weren't for Aiko's heart gem, he wouldn't still be alive, by the way. So he had an extra fighting chance. And so, Taven was determined to meet up with Blaze at the Pyramid of Argus, whom he just triggered. And the war raged on in the southern crater. But it wasn't long before a certain fire god actually descended unawares and incinerated the infantry and helped out in the final battle. And Taven soon shone up alongside Fujin and Kung Lao as they were awestruck by Liu Kang's merger with Raiden. But this is it, guys! This is the series finale in my Mortal Kombat Chronology series. So without further ado, let's start this and finish this. And hang on a sec, guys. This is awesome! Continuation 12, Armageddon. This is it, guys. As much as he tried, the elemental powerhouse known as Fire God Liu Kang couldn't stop his allies from rushing up to the summit of the Pyramid of Argus, while their enemies remained close on their tails. Whether it be ally or foe, everyone was either been dead or severely wounded while ascending to reach Blaze. He, Kung Lao, Taven, and Fujin were helpless over the melee and seemed as petrified that all they could do was watch. Even Nightwolf was keeping his distance in the shadows as he kept on firing his green soul-encased arrows at his own adversaries. It's no use! We'll never survive if we try to reach Blaze. Even with Aiko's heart gems, they can only do so much. We can't just stand here and wait for all our enemies to fall. And if we let any one of them kill Blaze first... Kung Lao was tongue-tied. Taven should know from his own experience. Orin and Karo were right. The quest was indeed corrupted. It was all a setup. Demigod was outraged on all the pain and chaos it wrought to the table, aside from annihilating his family over an elemental monstrosity and claiming its flames for a false and suicidal gain. Unless if we should climb it indirectly, there's just no way. Only the merged god was hunting for a solution without causing any casualties. Two red silhouettes caught his eye, their statuettes, as he hesitated in deep thought. Yes. Yes, there is. What do you mean? The green arrows continued to zip through the dry air, and Liu called out, Nightwolf! Tell everyone via telepathy to stand down. Tell Kenshi to do the same. I cannot! Kenshi has already been badly hurt by Quan Chi. If he ever gets revived, he will still perish. Then, it's all on to you, brother. Remember your technique when you broke the Tetsuri spell. I'll climb up the pyramid. Reluctant, he nodded, and he stretched out a hand to his fellow warriors. His voice echoed into their minds, even those who were fatally injured. They saw the crowd thin out little by little. He also mentioned the prize was nothing more than a death sentence. Our forces had responded, Liu Kang. They're standing by. Not everyone cared as Su Hao hit Stryker with another lethal laser from behind, but Raicho unleashed a volley of green vomit into the approaching crowds. Then soon mangled by Motaro, Cyrax was tossed off by him. Damn error. After attempting to strangle the Minotaur, Ermac was pushed asunder, while Kenshi stabbed the beast with his sento. Quan Chi impaled Kenshi. Shang Tsung lifted and thrown Kenshi off with his soul kinesis, and he was about to slam and shatter the blind man's ribcage until he was blasted away by Liu's lightning. Shao Kahn advanced until he was ambushed by Onaga, who was trying to lift him away. But the fire god knew better, electrocuting them both from above. More and more waves of enemies were advancing post-haste. That was... Spotting the pair of structures located at the corners of the first layer, Liu urged, "Chameleons! Take me up! I'll assign Taven, Kung Lao, and Fujin for assistance!" By the time he noticed the melee was clearing up, Liu signaled the men to run up to the sly couple, and they did just that, warping them up. With 2 poofs of smoke, the group arrived 2 stories below the fire spawn. "Good! Head back!" Never wanting to be roasted nor slaughtered, they returned to their posts the same way. "I will deal with Blaze. You 3 must defend the pyramid from all enemies." "Shao Kahn!" The evil emperor broke free from Onaga's talons as he wrecked through the trio with his lethal hammer. Kung Lao and Taven lost trying, and only Fujin was left until Liu Kang fired away with his pent-up pyrokinesis. Taven was pulled up by Kung Lao's hand. "We can only be of some assistance now." Khan just charged up and challenged the champion. "Liu Kang! Long time no see!" "Yes, Khan. It has been eons since I'd last defeated you. I sense you have grown even more potent when last we met. You and Raiden had merged into one. Impressive. But I shall see to it. I separate you, and I can split souls once I am finished with you. I won't let you take the prize and corrupt all the realms, conqueror. Fight!" Liu performed a series of strong kicks which knocked Khan down. He blocked Liu's flying kick with his hammer and countered with it till he was down. He jumped with his hammer raised, and Liu avoided the nick of time, then retaliated with a direct kick and downward thrust. Liu jumped over Khan's charge and evaded his hammer slam, but the conqueror was agile and managed to make his mark several times. Liu wasn't done, as he retaliated with a flurry of kicks until Khan had at a considerable distance. He then made a few fireballs and lightning bolts which made Khan falter on contact. He closed the gap with a bicycle kick, only to be vulnerable to Khan's hammer. Kung Lao took the front as he made a teleport, then performed slices with his razor-rimmed hat, followed by a Shaolin throw. Liu took over with a lightning burst, then clobbered him with more direct kicks. Vulnerable, Kong was pummeled by a bicycle kick. Liu wound up and hit Kong directly in the chest with another flying kick. Finally, he spotted Onaga and forced him down with a lightning stomp onto the Emperor. Man! From the shadows, Nightwolf lent out his heart gem, which revitalized Liu Kang's strength. He wished he would have used his ancestors' healing ritual, if only it were more discreet. Lao and Taven foreseen Quan Chi running toward them, and together they made an aerial kick, forcing him down onto Shang. Motoro marched up, and Lao threw his hat, while Taven fired onto the rim, causing it to avoid the enemy, and split him with a combusted flame as it returned. "I learned the hard way! He could deflect projectiles!" Taven nodded. First, Fire God Liu Kang was stung from behind by 2 acid spits, until Fujin caught 2 saurians in a funnel. The winds unveiled their camouflage by reptile and komedai. "You 2 set a bad example helping to repopulate the saurian species. For shame!" He tossed them asunder, and the chameleons held them down. Liu actually limped toward Blaze, finally succumbing to his many injuries. Even Blaze's stagnant heat was beginning to take its toll on him, despite his weakened state. Lao, Taven, and Fujin trailed behind him. "Liu Kang!" Lao murmured. "I must talk to Blaze! I must end this!" He hunched over a few steps and paused.
Earthrealm's Jinsei flows within you. Let it fuel your fire.
Raiden for once actually spoke his mind like his very own conscience. Blue's eyes flared with white lightning as his body spread out while he screeched. Both fire and electricity erupted all over, with the Jinsei restoring him. The display died down and Liu spread out an open palm, ready for battle once more. Meanwhile, Hanzo managed to teleport from beneath the floor, with an array of hellfire recalling his wraith technique. He made it back to Shinnok's spire, and noticed time was of the essence as he saw the placid Shinnok slope over, while his hands remained shackled. He handed the amulet to the dying elder god with his fish grip palm. My double absorbed most of my essence, leaving me to rot. But thanks to your quickness. He clutched the amulet as tightly as he could while he felt energy seep through him. The beast snarled as the dark energy was absorbed, and he soon broke away from his shackles, yet still he hunched over. Hanzo wished Shinnok would possess the Blackheart gem, if only his sneaky, treacherous double didn't snatch it. As soon as thoughts crossed his mind involving the Double Walker stealing its artifact filled with malice, Shinnok's essence felt as if it was being conflicted. He held his head in irritation before his eyes shot up as if to the heavens. Cetrion! As if by a sentient reaction, the black heart gem attached to the clone's more unclean self, it sparkled like a diamond in an opaque void, before it shattered, and the mist evaporated in its place. The double was outraged he lost his own power source.
Miserable wretch! Insignificant speck of feculent scum! How dare you!
I always loved that line, by the way. Lao, Taven, and Fujin stayed behind Liu Kang as he headed toward the summit. They couldn't help but gaze onto the fallen warriors, even the ones making a lost cause. The sudden display, when Liu was firing streaks to blaze, got their attention. Although the flames seemed thin, they grew in mass, but the entity was just taking them in like an impenetrable tank. He only roared back as Liu kept increasing his shots. Blaze isn't feeling any of Liu Kang's attacks. I don't think they're attacks. I believe Liu Kang is trying to talk to Blaze. What is he saying? The monstrosity bellowed again, firing a streak into Liu, which made him slip a few steps before he noticed he was only being covered. He just closed his eyes, so he absorbed them. After a few moments, he opened and spoke. I know how you must feel, Blaze. It doesn't have to be this way. As Delia's creation, you are a tool of insatiable destruction. Perhaps I can help you. We can only eliminate our enemies and spare our friends. As Delia's own creation, I must bring a stop to Armageddon. But all living beings shall fear me, as I possess Pyro far more powerful than even Delia, or even the sun, or the endless core of the nether realm. I shall erase all life as they're responsible for triggering this calamity. Me, finally being awakened, free from the shackles of Onaga and his demonic fanatics, and here to roam and bring total destruction to all the imbalances that had disturbed me for far too long. I will no longer be bound, as I shall bring about the end, and if I must die with them, so be it! With loose flames as an act of communication, like radio waves. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to bring about the destruction of all realms? Why were you created by Delia, the Empress of Flame? Are you a pawn of the Elder Gods, Delia and Argus? Are you a slave found by your creators? Blaze increased his thermal energy onto the humble monk. He blocked the onslaught and shouted over the anger. Blaze! Listen to me! You do not have to destroy everyone and everything we hold dear. Let me help you erase our assailants. We can both make peace with the realms. You are bound to your creator, but you must know that everyone has will and govern their own destiny. Liu Kang! Blaze only decides the fate of the warriors. My parents were in a feud to choose their fate, their final destiny. Even have them all destroyed or strip them of their powers. As twisted as my family is, you can't convince him. Blaze just elongated a tight fist and hit Liu dead center, making him tumble. The trio faltered, but the fire god was just getting warmed up. Through gritted teeth, he ran and leapt onto the topmost floor. Catch, Liu Kang! Taven threw up the sword. Being he wasn't going through to him, by the elder gods, I will not let your prophecy come to pass. If you must die, then so be it! Blaze rose his arms ready to rumble. Liu Kang just came at him full force with his bicycle kick. He figured with the elementals so humongous he could be an easy target. He actually strategized to limit his pyrokinesis, as it'd be neutralized on the beast of hefty destruction. At first he felt intimidated being Blaze could manipulate lava and all types of fire. Even his brute strength was crippling on Liu, as Liu was taken down by his molten fists from above. Liu performed a direct flying kick in which Blaze blocked, only for the Shaolin to counter with a potent uppercut to the lower torso. Oh, this is long. Although with the mystical sword in hand and his Jun fan style, Liu almost felt like a fairy tale knight dicing an abominable monster. His determination got the best of him as Blaze grabbed and tossed him aside like a tempered child with an unwanted toy. Liu snarled and charged, churning his lightning inside him, hoping to stun and paralyze the enemy. The bolts only licked him for a second before he resumed his wrath. He blocked Liu's advances before warping behind through a lava pool and sacked him. The intense heat and the magma oozing into Liu was starting to make him weaker, but thanks to Raiden's dual essence, he kept Liu moving forward. He dove into Blaze's gut with an aerial tackle, avoided the elemental's charges, then countered with a few swift swipes before he leapt away. His body began to sting for a while until Liu was ready. He cut from above, below, and hopped away from another assault. Then he rinsed and repeated, even hopping over Blaze's flames. Liu performed a jump kick with both feet, causing the tower to crumble gradually. The embers began to weaken. Blaze moaned in pain, and his body was darkening as Liu was nearly out of breath. For once he declared in the most menacing tone,
If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
No! Kung Lao, Taven, and Fujin ran up as fast as their feet can carry them. Every combatant heard Blaze's horrifying words. Liu became fixated onto the monstrosity's expansion and ignition, and he did the same. 2 volleys of flames pushed against each other, with Liu's streak being pushed back. I must win! With Raiden's harsh whisper, it was as if he took over Liu's vessel, performing a powerful air tackle, breaking the streak, and held Blaze's stomach. With his other hand, he slowly resisted the intense gravity and shot skyward. Brother! What are you? Liu Kang! Master! No! I had already died once, and I'm taking it back with me. Now get out of there. Do I make myself clear? Champion of Mortal Kombat! Lao just stood as still as the pyramid, his eyes wide, his mouth agape as if reaching the roof. No, brother! You can't! You'll die! Why are you doing this? Why? As if Raiden's complexion shone through, all he did was turn his head and smiled. I must win. All of a sudden, neither combatant were expected to be pushed back at such a length. By the merged warriors' flame burst, it swelled and enveloped the entire one side of the hellish structure. It was as if moths were caught in the flames. As the firestorm began to run down on the unsuspecting victims, Shinnok became overwhelmed as he hollered and unleashed his energy from both the amulet and the dark heart, sensing this was the end. Back at the grotto, Aiko felt her heart gem ignite in a neon red. while the Elder God amulet was beginning to destroy itself both in Liu Kang's side and the Orientals. The latter noticed the commotion and heard the Adenian collapse.
Katana!
He tended her while Orin went closer to the portal.
Taven!
Kero was away as he caught the same igniting gem in his maw. Via a red rip, he conjured. He hurriedly carried it to the same spot where the comatose mistress laid. What are they doing? Meanwhile, Aiko just sat beside the spot the dragon's aperture was, as her mind finally put the pieces together like a puzzle. No one noticed Katana's lifeless body dissolve.
Liu Kang, Raiden, I know now who created all the time lapses. I know now who sent me and Baraka back in time. It wasn't neither Raiden nor Kronika who caused all these temporalities. It was you who encouraged Kung Lao to keep living and watch over us.
She broke into tears.
It was you. Please don't go. I love you.
Oriental heard glass shatter, and he fell to the leftover debris from the Elder God's amulet. Knowing he failed, he screamed,
No!
Kero and Orin were stunned as they observed him sink to all fours as he buried his head and sobbed. The firestorm raged from the pyramid, making everyone lose consciousness from the volatile impact. Liu and Raiden managed to utter their last words as they gazed into the heavens.
I must win.
Before they just faded within the towering inferno.
Oh no!
This was the hardest scenario I had to write throughout this whole chronology. I never wanted this to happen, but I had this tragic idea. Should have been like this in the games, though. All of a sudden, as if by a super volcano, debris rained all over the pyramid, while the heavenward display of thick smoke and ash extended beyond the stratosphere. Even comets at times were hitting the surrounding area. Asgard and the Resistance couldn't help but stare at the devastated pyramid in the distance. The monks remained as deathly silent as Frederick, Hanzo, even Shinnok. Over the quiet, peaceful settlement known as the Temple of Light, the spectators saw a solar flare emitting above. So, it looks like realms are kinda like planets after all. I guess. Aiko's mind was cracking as she had terrifying hallucinations of the world ending from an enormous liner being lifted at the side and be decimated by a tsunami, to the same floods destroying everything in their path, to the entire realm being torn asunder. Oh, thanks for traumatizing me, 2012. That movie is... ugh. I would never pick this over The Day After Tomorrow, I swear. It's terrible. Thinking the disasters would come right for her, she only had her eyes shut tightly as if blocking all light, until her mind calmed as she heard distant crashes of waves. Then a cool breeze hit her skin. Near the portal, the dragon sulked over the distant woman in cerulean, finally opening her eyes. Slowly she breathed and moaned a few times while they cleared. She slowly turned her body till she was on her hands and knees. Recovering from her dizziness, she spotted the dark crimson gem beside her. She picked it up, and a realization came to her. Aiko. She suddenly heard hard breaths from a few feet away and followed the chokes and sobs to her beloved. Katana rose a hand and slowly took off his hood before resting it on his quivering shoulder. The gray-haired Oriental turned and almost at a loss for words. You're alive? Yes, Liu Kang. We all are. She even unwrapped her hand, showing a little appall. He couldn't help but smile through his tears, and he suddenly embraced her tightly. Then perhaps Taven and the others are alive as well, Orin hypothesized. So, the realms didn't come to an end, Kiro added. The man noticed a speck in the portal through his peripheral vision. Someone is here. Aiko! Her eyes slowly opened, and she was seeing stars. Her vision eased up, and the first thing she saw were thick tropical bushes and palm trees. The sand also grated beneath her eyes, even some of the rocky cliffs in the background. Aiko's mind wandered. What is this? Where am I? Desperate, she faced all corners sharply until her ears perked up, ruffling leaves from a nearby bush. A red-snouted face popped out. Kiro! He immediately dove back in, and Aiko chased after him, anxiously asking where he was going. She tore through the underbrush and kept heading straight, plowing through any branches, vines, or detritus in her way. After a couple feet, Aiko brushed herself off before she beheld a more spacious area. An enormous hourglass overlooked her. She was in complete awe, her heart nearly stopping as she looked over the fine design she never saw before. She then saw Kiro slither around it, and smack dab in the front was... Oh! Katana! She looked over for once, never showing her vial, and she couldn't help but smile as Aiko stormed over to her. She was full of glee. The Edenian never died. Aiko felt the warm, soothing comfort toggling her mind, and her doubts everyone was dead. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. Are we dead? She gradually broke off. Oh, you look ghostly, taking in her pale complexion from her coma earlier. Katana's face brightened. Aiko, so you were the one who preserved my memories. Kiro gave Liu Kang your remaining heart gem after I was electrocuted. I thought I was dead when my heart stopped, but you were the one who brought me back. Do not fret. Only the Order Realm and the Chaos Realm were destroyed, while the others remained intact. She then held the confused cardiokinetic shoulders as she gazed into her foggy eyes. I really want to thank you for everything. Liu Kang was the one who sent you back, and for a very good reason. Your deeds will live on in the memories of the cosmos. Peace has returned once more. May the Elder Gods forever shine down upon you. Katana then lightly pecked Aiko in the cheek, although the latter backed away, startled by the gesture. Whoa! Wait. I'm not changing. Yes, I heard about your kiss of death. Thanks a lot, Mortal Kombat 2. Meanwhile, the Oriental gazed into the portal and noticed the sky was being blanketed by light brown clouds as a downpour occurred, which doused Blaze's devastating flames. Thunder boomed and lightning flashed as every combatant was being drenched by the Elder God's tears, as if they for once showed emotion and were crying by Raiden and Liu's heroic sacrifice. Only this time, it looked as if the battlefield was being littered by lesser bodies, where only the majority of the heroes remained. Li Mei was impaled on Hataro's lethal pole weapon, which suddenly tilted and fell to the ground. Stryker was lasered in the chest by Suhao, leaving a large abrasion in which began to close up. Shiva and Goro got their limbs disjointed and broken by the Minotaur Motoro and Khan's wrathful hammer, while Kentaro had similar wounds. Kenshi, with the usual red headband shielding his eyes, was run through by Quan Chi's sword. Johnny Cage's arms got mangled by drum and steel club. Jax's chest collapsed due to Malik's ball and chain, while the weapon detonated some of the agent's explosives, forcing them back into sharp rocks. Sonya Blade's pregnant belly had multiple lacerations. Bihan, Kuai-Liang, and Frost were severely dehydrated due to blazes and Liu's firestorm. Ashura was still unconscious without her Kriss blade. Ermac and Sindel were both impaled with swords. Melina had some of her Torcatan fangs missing, although new ones began to grow in, while her face healed after being crushed by Khan's hammer. Jade just laid there, still comatose. Baraka had his left arm loosely dangling. Kung Lao and Taven laid at the bottom steps of the pyramid, with the former on his stomach, the latter on his back. Fujin laid on his side with his arm outstretched on the second story. The chameleon's bow and Nightwolf remained at the side of the decimated pyramid in nearly the same fashion. Cyrax and Smoke had their armor cracked and broken off in a few places, with the Grey Bot's body having less of an impact. Serena had her chest impaled through, believing to be from Shinnok's staff, and Cabal was left not breathing with his dropped hooked swords, while Kai's body was twisted in multiple angles like a pretzel. I guess I did, everyone. What is this place? Aiko queried after she recovered from her stim of excitement on preserving Katana's life and memories. This was supposed to be Shang Tsung's island, when in fact it's considered as just the Yin-Yang Island, as half of the island extends to Earthrealm, while the other half is a portal leading to Outworld. Wow. So, we are alive? Indeed, we are, Aiko. She was ecstatic to meet up with Cairo as she hugged around the dragon's neck. His snout caressed her. Liu Kang and Raiden had saved all life, excepting those in the aforementioned realms. It's likely they destroyed themselves, like the yin and yang, and no balance between them. And Kung Lao? I believe he may still be alive. I pray to the elder gods he will. Do not be troubled, Aiko. The tears of Cetrion would have our comrades recuperated. If it weren't for Hanzo giving the amulet to the weakened Shinnok, he probably never would have lived. Nor would Shinnok have activated his amulet in conjunction with your darkened heart gem. She was dumbfounded. What? I thought it was forbidden to give the amulet to him. The real Elder God diffused himself. The positive energy he absorbed from Liu Kang and Nightwolf restored her memories of Cetrion, and with the two relics, with your black gem dissipated from his double, his memories restored the Elder Goddess of Light and Light. She mourned for all the sacrifices and merciless destruction during Armageddon. I guess. But Raiden and Liu Kang are... She couldn't finish, as she was so disheartened. Katana hugged her. That hourglass once belonged to Kronika as the keeper of time, though it was located in the Netherrealm, until my savior relocated it here. He defeated her, and Cetrion took her mantle. So, it was him all along. I saw him when my mind was just in a complete fog. So many horrible things were happening, and I knew it was him who sent me and Baraka back. Raiden said there was more than one. She sulked, and a couple fresh tears fell upon the fire god's sacrifice. Taven! It's Taven! Oh. Taven! It's Taven! He's alive too! Orin came to the sorrowful group. Meanwhile, the rainstorm remained constant over the devastated pyramid, looking as though it only had a quartet of floors cracked. The topmost layer was just a pile of disarrayed rubble with Blaze's flames still being seized within a thick smokestack. Less lightning and thunder cracked the sky, while more of the Elder God's tears fell in torrents, so much so that several combatants began to stir. One or two upchucked as water entered their lungs, while others twitched their fingers and turned over. They each felt as if they'd been greatly cooled off from a heat wave, even being rehydrated. The cybers had the rudest awakening as they hurriedly removed their armor while the rain entered their circuits. Poor guys. Some were even so out of it that their allies needed to wake them up. Unfortunately, the fighters were so soaked that their electronic gizmos became worthless. Little by little, the forces of light recovered, some more than others, even with their deep flesh wounds, and the last one was actually Kung Lao. Having felt he slept for many hours, his muscles ached as he moved his head, which was lying to the side. Confirming whether or not he was alive, he took in a deep, refreshing breath. He slowly sat up with a few groans from weakness until his head was clear enough. His mind recollected what just transpired before he was... Liu Kang! Raiden! His chest was sore as he heaved and ran up the pyramid. He didn't care if he'd slip and fall on the ragged, slippery steps, nor how much lower the structure was after Blaze's impact. His lungs almost felt like they were about to burst as he finally climbed to the top and breathed heavily. He eventually rose, and Blaze and the fire god were nowhere in sight. Lao just hollered as he raised his hands to his mouth. Liu Kang! Raiden! He wandered aimlessly over the topmost floor, even overlooking the sides and the rear. Still no such luck. Not even when he teleported off the pyramid and looked through the shady spaces. He kept on calling until his throat went coarse, and his feet nearly gave way. At the exact epicenter of the disturbed soil, Lao went down and brushed it away, revealing the single object that almost made him slip. The shiny metallic crimson headband. Recognizing the small attachment, Kung Lao held it loosely in his shaky hands, not from the cold, but rather from sudden grief. His entire body began to quake and his head became heavy. His legs buckled and fell to the ground, clutching the headband close. All he did was let out his tears just as fast as the rain itself. Lao whimpered as his throat became closed. He soon clenched as he looked up to the sorrowful sky as he screamed hard. He was so beaten sadness he didn't even notice his allies racing up and each calling his name, glad to see him alive and well, especially Goro, Sonya, Striker, Kai, Taven, and Fujin. Kung Lao! All he did was sob before he rose his head. But where's Liu Kang? Raiden! Kung Lao responded with a head as heavy as an anvil. They went after Blaze alone. They challenged in Mortal Kombat at the roof of the pyramid. And I could... Oh, gods, why? He continued to sob, his arms shaking. Everyone just bowed their heads in disbelief. Their mentors, Liu Kang and Raiden, actually perished in a race from time. With weighted hearts, the combatants soon boarded the nether wing, surprisingly still in operational condition. Aiko reiterated to the Shaolin monks and Frederick of Kung Lao's, Fujin's, Kai's, and Nightwolf's possibilities on returning home, while they also deeply mourned for Raiden and Liu Kang. And about a day later, she was soon at the fields near the Temple of Light in the Yellow River, amongst the denizens, always being their assistant on fishing. She most certainly loves seafood, and ever since she found out several years ago Liu Kang's hobby was fishing, aside from shadow puppets. Interesting. I actually found that out in the Heroes Wiki. Good stuff. Only the accepting monks volunteered, and she offered to weaken the prey's hearts to allow the Shaolin to reel them in without much effort. They just caught and dragged in one of the massive tuna the Yellow River was known to inhabit, until their eyes struggled to make out a silhouette through the glaring sunlight. All they saw was a large rim tap atop a skinny figure which seemed to make a scraggly walk. The Shaolin stared at the presumed dead man walking in, which they thought was Kung Lao. Even Aiko was startled. Her right arm struck out toward that undead figure. How could he have survived Armageddon rather quickly? Her limb was quaking, as was the shade, clutching his upper chest. Then something illuminated in bright crimson from his right pocket. Recognizing the object, the cardiokinetic reluctantly lowered herself as she became fixated. She straightened and her feet rapidly carried her closer to the shadow. He rose his head as he gave off a thin grin while his eyes sparkled, as he remained steady, barely lifting his arms when she raced to him. Kung Lao! I'm sorry. I've worried you longer than enough, didn't I? She just shook her head. Lao hesitated for a few moments before he slowly ascended his arms again, as if they were weighted like the accursed Howen chains. The odd combatant out suddenly dove into Lao's tight embrace. Oh, Kung Lao! Tears began to run down. I never thought I could hold you again. Me too. He caressed her back before he broke off. I have held on to your heart, and onto this. Took out the burnt headband which dangled. Aiko felt just as disheartened as him. She hardly met her lover's botched eyes as she held his neck and whispered, I'm so sorry. Remembering the murder of the Shaolin brother and their mentor, all they did was shed their tears as they embraced while the monks still remained inert. And the waves continued crashing onto the distant coast. Still no author notes? Later that day, Kung Lao walked to what used to be Liu Kang's tomb. Aiko was beside him, and the resting place looked as strong as ever, even with the 5 metals hanging over the hearth, with a flame which seemed to be burning eternally, as it was originally when the monks erected the place after the hero first perished by the deadly alliance. It was overcast, and neither person cared of the slight breeze. All Kung Lao wanted was to pay his respects to the 2 fallen members of his family he lost, as he offered Aiko to hand over each of his offerings. First was the dragon-armored vest. Lao put the suit over the statue of Earthrealm's late champion. Next were the pair of spiked gauntlets as he inserted them around the arms. Lastly was the red burnt headband, although Lao hesitated as he gazed onto the placid structure. His mind began to relive those incidences back atop the pyramid, where he flashed back as the 2 warriors were engulfed in flames upon Raiden's and Lu's sacrifices. Lao's hands began to tremble with the headband still in hand. He felt his temperature drop and his body became numb. Aiko grew worried at her lover's hesitation, and the quaking in his hands as he never peeled off his eyes from that statue of his brother, as well as his father erased from existence. Lao slowly attached the hairpiece around its head and secured it behind as he made a fish grip, though it remained taut. He slowly backed away as he just became limp, his eyes watering. He moped as he gritted his teeth tightly like a vise, much like as his right fist. He abruptly rose and dropped himself onto the tile, while his clutched hand hit hard. Lao rose his head briefly before he adjusted his arms and sobbed. All Aiko did was watch her mate grieve. She slowly sat beside him as she tended him. Struck with fear and sorrow, she only whimpered, Kung Lao. A few minutes ticked by, and the stricken couple heard a faint voice whisper the griever's name. Neither one looked up thinking it was Fujin, not even when a slight breeze picked up, nor when the eternal flame flickered and turned into blue. A man with gray hair tied back with some side locks hung, a wide, bare chest with white tattooed arms, and a dark outfit gradually descended.
Kung Lao.
Aiko was the first, while she rose her head, and Lao followed,
You're stupefied. Liu Kang! All the time displaced male did was nod with a smile. You're alive? But how? Unless you were the one who sent me back?
Indeed, Aiko. My existence has not been altered, as I had come from another time. I have been watching over you in Earthrealm for so long.
Where is Raiden?
I have combined with his soul. Together we had beaten Kronika and went back in time. Raiden, as a mortal, wished me well in the next timeline, as I had found and betrothed with Katana. I had retrieved her crown after I'd beaten Shang Tsung and created my new era. Aiko realized she was the Edenian she saw at the island.
How's Kero and Orin?
I had already explained to Fujin. He is indeed thrilled and knows he is not alone. Taven will keep Orin by his side once he becomes the new protector god of Edenia. Kero has decided to stay with us for a while.
So, you're Liu Kang and Raiden?
It wasn't easy for Liu's mind to wrap around. Yes, champion. I am also the new Keeper of Time. With Armageddon now conclusive, I am free to roam to any time. Katana and Kero shall join me.
Will we ever see you again?
Yes, you will. With society saved and with the chaos and order realm's destruction, there will be no shackles in order nor chaos. And time has been altered for the better. You have now secured our past and the future. Well done, champion of Mortal Kombat. The fire god bowed, and Liu followed with Aiko's curtsy. You and Fujin are now worthy to take mine and Raiden's place as protectors of Earthrealm. You are the chosen one, and your ancestors' legacy has come full circle at last. Look after the Shaolin and train them well, and give him a prosperous life as Katana did me, Aiko. All she did was bow low and bashfully. Remember this, that the universe does not hear what you are saying. It feels the vibration you are offering. I shall now depart, but I will be honored to see you again. Liu Kang ascended into the heavens as he gradually dissipated. Goodbye, brother. They both watched him leave Earth behind. Liu made a kowtow as he did. Aiko just sulked as she cried.
Goodbye, Liu Kang.
She became fixated onto the high noon, wondering if the one they love will someday return. That universe quote I put in, I found it on Twitter once, and the source said it was from Abraham Hicks. I don't know who he is, but it was just as invigorating. It was such a tragic loss as I brainstormed the idea of having Liu and Raiden sacrifice themselves to change Blaze's eruption to save all of existence. But when I noticed that Liu's ending was canon in 11 and Aftermath, and followed into MK1, I just had to write him in. It was indeed the time to place Liu Kang and Katana that brought Aiko and Baraka back into the past and watched over his fellow warriors. Even encouraged them to keep living until Armageddon. He was the ultimate chess master, and I love him and Katana for it! Seriously, the perfect ending from MK11 with them watching over time and Earthrealm together should have been the definitive story arc for the next game. I hope MK1 would somehow restore their memories of them and have them live together while protecting their respective realms, with Yingyang Island as their base of operations, smack dab between them with the Hourglass. Better than the Netherrealm. And for once, Mortal Kombat vs. DC got one thing right. The hallucinations Aiko had been based on these scary sequences in 2012 always hated it, and the idea of Liu communicating with Blaze via streaks of fire was inspired by Pikachu talking to Zapdos in Pokemon the Movie 2000, and the sacrifices from Raiden and Liu Kang reminded me of Groot in the OG Guardians, while the explosion was similar to Dante's Peak's destruction. Oh, and I want to give a shout out to Force Snake on describing each of the combatants' deaths displayed at the start of the reboot, which was set soon after Armageddon, even though I sorely hated the ideas on having Shao Kahn win over everyone, and to have Taven with a third outcome in which nothing happened. Thanks, developers! You guys suck, you know that? Armageddon was a rush job and we got the results of the reboot. God damn it. Also, I didn't have the heart to kill off some of the heroes like, say, Bihan or Stryker. Some might say it could be biased, but some of the combatants still got a decent ending after you complete Armageddon's classic tower. Not everyone has to die like during the intro of the lousy reboot. And just a reminder, I am not an expert in the games. And just a reminder, I am not an expert in the games, or the lore, or all the combatants. So, if all along you think I suck in my projects in general, like in my fanfiction or countdowns, well then, trolls, suck on this shit! To quote the angry video game nerd, there are the songs, and the epilogue as usual shall wrap up the series up shortly. See you then. Until then, this is the Ekron Writer signing out, and I'll give you some time to readjust after that tragic loss.